All right, hello everybody. We're going to start as we always do with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge, honor, and respect that much of the land we are gathered on is part of traditional unceded territories of many different Indigenous peoples of Canada. We also acknowledge today is the special inaugural Truth and Reconciliation Day in Canada. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Veg Networking Canada, where vegan plant-based professionals connect and collaborate. We have an amazing guest with us today. His story started on the east coast of Canada in marine biology with a degree from McGill, transitioned into sales and business development in the software industry, generating tens of millions in that field. Now located on the west coast of Canada with a depth of experience in film, television, software, and mining, we have the co-founder of Umaluma Gelato, serving dairy-free love in a cup, Ian Bruce. Welcome, Ian.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm not quite sure I heard it right, but you said mining. Maybe that was a typo. I have never worked in the mining industry. I don't know if it was marine biology, but not mining.
Okay, absolutely. Let's jump right into our very first question for you, which is, what is your plant-based origin story?
Sure. So I've been a vegetarian for over 30 years. Been really big part of my health and health consciousness was really having a mostly plant-based diet. Started when I injured my back. I was living in California, had a little bit of an accident, hurt my back. And then my chiropractor suggested I go off meat for a couple of months and just to, I guess he was wanting me to deal with the inflammation and some of the health issues around meat. Was never a big meat eater to begin with, but I cut it out and I still maintained some chicken and fish here and there. But eventually I really liked it. I really liked the way my body felt. It definitely contributed to my healing. And I've never really looked back since. I've never missed having meat. Mostly been, full disclosure, I'm not vegan. I'm mostly vegan. I actually follow more of an Ayurvedic, vegetarian Ayurvedic lifestyle in terms of my diet, and which is a complete lifestyle for me. It's where, the foods I eat and also how they're prepared, and foods that actually match my body type in the Ayurvedic tradition. Learning about that stuff is really fascinating, and actually seeing how certain foods help my body in certain ways, and those foods tend to be all plant-based. So it's been a real good journey, and I do cherish the way I eat and respect what I put into my body. So
that's quite the journey. 30 years ago, making that switch, and yes, Eastern medicine and the Ayurvedic tradition are absolutely fascinating. So jumping into business, because all of our members and special guests were really centered around entrepreneurship and business. So what was your spark to become an entrepreneur and go out on your own?
Well, it's a multifaceted sort of story. I mean, starting a business is a big deal for most people. For me, it was. I've been my background, like you said, is quite eclectic. I've been in the technology industry for the last 30 years. I have my own consulting company. I help companies to grow their revenue, and I work with partners, channel relationships, partner relationships to help companies actually distribute their products into the marketplace using other tech partners. So I've always sort of worked for other people. I never really worked for myself, and I always had that seed was always planted in my head early on. I mean, what would I do if I started my own thing? And my business, Umaluma, started like most other businesses do, which is with an idea, a seed of an idea. And, for me, the idea of starting a business was more of a passion project. Since I do, I do work almost full time, still in the technology industry and the software industry. So it was kind of a passion project. The idea was maybe I'll start a company in technology, which is an obvious place to look given my background. But I also was very interested in food. So I thought about it. For me, food is love. serving food, being served. I mean, there's something very primal about eating, consuming, and also being very health conscious what we put into our bodies. Ice cream is a happy product. It just makes people happy, and it's one of those things that most people love to eat. Some people can never eat it because of their intolerances and so on, or their preferences not to eat sugar in their foods, etc. So the idea came up to start something with ice cream. I didn't really have a plant-based ice cream idea originally. It was meant to be, I thought I was going to create the best gelato on the planet, and the rest would sort of come together. I had met a young guy at the point when I was thinking about this, and he had a history. He had started a company making raw chocolate. He was selling like handmade chocolates that his company made. And so he had some of that experience in the kitchen. We resonated, we got together, and we started tinkering literally in my kitchen. I bought a little ice cream maker. And then he mentioned that, why don't we consider doing a dairy-free? And I thought about it. I went out and did some research. I mean, on the market at the time, there aren't very many options. The ones that are available commercially through grocery stores, they're good desserts, but they really didn't make my taste buds dance. So I kind of saw an opportunity, and the way I thought about it was, in a way, kind of like I think about software in the software industry. That is, if you make a really good product and you make it accessible, people will download it, love it, and it goes viral, right? If the product is solid, you're off to a good start. That was a very basic sort of idea that struck me and stuck with me the whole time. So I thought about it and I said, well, if we can create a dairy-free gelato that's indistinguishable from our regular dairy-based cousins, it's something I'd be interested in pursuing. So we went at it a lot longer than I anticipated. We spent the next 18 months in product development. We probably went through 30 different brands of coconut. We were looking for a very neutral base so that not all our flavors would taste like coconut milk. And it took a lot of trial and error. We finally found a supplier whose coconut milk is really neutral. So that gave us a starting point for creating our formula. And the next piece was really having the equipment. I mean, I wasn't ready. I didn't jump into this venture, putting all my money on the table and let's go for it. It was really trial balloons, testing the waters with the product development, the R&D part. And if and only if I was satisfied with the product, would I invest in the business? And so the first thing we needed to do was to find a real ice cream machine. They're kind of expensive, and again, wasn't ready to invest. We found a really nice local company here in Vancouver that gave us access to their kitchen. They happen to be a supplier, a distributor of Italian machines, coffee machines, and so on. So we used their gelato maker in their kitchen for about 3 months, and the results were remarkable. I mean, as soon as we put our formula in, the texture really came out the way we was meant to when we first put it in that machine. And then the rest was just really tinkering and working the recipe. Met a fellow along the way. His name's Andy, who's a chef who works in the food industry and had actually services the gelato industry, the ice cream industry. So someone that was really key with the experience to help us kind of dial in our formula. And so we worked together. We did some testing with friends and family, and we got the feedback we needed, and we launched with. We actually launched in a commissary, a shared kitchen. Ended up buying machine, and we started to continue. We continued doing our samples. Came up with packaging, name, all that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, it sort of came together over a period of a year and a half to 2 years. Um, the idea though was, how do you bring together everything that you dream about when you start a business? That's to say, the product you want, the team you want, and then the profitability and the money you need to sustain your business. Because I think that's a really important part of the equation. If your business can't survive, then there's no point. So you're in business to make money. And, we happened to come along at a time when this trend was really starting to take off. Plant-based ice cream, along with all the other plant-based products that are coming into the market, whether it's cheeses or yogurts or anything we can think of, right? The meats were also being replaced with plant-based alternatives. So timing was good. And we launched, and I think the local market here in Vancouver really resonated with our story, and they love our product, and it's been a journey since then to keep things going.
Amazing. Yeah, that's an awesome entrepreneur story. It's so great. You mentioned building a team that's gonna, always take you further. Absolutely incredible. What are some trends in the dairy-free ice cream, dairy-free gelato? It's such a unique space that you're in, but what are some trends in your industry?
Well, I think you have to step back a little bit and just look at the overall trend that I'm seeing anyway. And I think a lot of people are seeing this. I mean, plant-based foods are obviously hot. It's a hot topic. There's tons of investment. There's companies coming out every day. There's big companies getting involved, big corporations. They're all going with their plant-based lines. So the trend is really the coming together of more consciousness around plant-based foods and healthier lifestyle, and coming together with the business side of things and the demand. So consumer demand meets trend, meets big business that's investing in it. So it's becoming popular. In the ice cream industry in particular, so if you look at the ultra premium, if you look at the ice cream industry as a whole, it's about $100 billion a year in revenue, looking up to 2023 above 5.5% KGR growth. And the dairy-free segment of the ice cream business is expected to grow about 15% a year for the next 5 years. So that shows there's demand, it shows there's scale, and the coming together of those trends I mentioned, among other things. I mean, there's a lot of the more product is available, the more demand is created, so the more product becomes available, right? And as we created this awareness, and as the big companies with their big marketing budgets and so on come into play, more and more people are aware of products like from our company Umaluma and many others. But yeah, I think it's my own personal sort of view of this is, how do I sort out the hype and the trendiness from the real goodness, and what's real, and what are the real valuable products and companies that are coming online, right? Because there's a lot of things that marketing can do to pretend they're healthier, or consciousness raising, or good for the planet. I'm a little bit skeptical about too many trends. But the good news, I think, in my opinion, is that this plant-based world is here to stay, and it's only going to grow.
Absolutely. And we're going to get our last question is always based around advice, but I know that you're giving advice right now in terms of know your numbers. That's super, super important. And that growth is interesting in the dairy-free sector of ice cream itself. And you're absolutely right. There has definitely been a trend of greenwashing, blue washing, and all that stuff. So I completely hear you on that. Amazing, amazing. Where is Umaluma Gelato going in the future? Maybe 1 year, 3 year, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like any company, we really have to continue to innovate and come up with new flavors, new product ideas. I have lots of ideas. I mean, this whole one of them is in the performance-based food kind of realm. So that's an area that we're exploring. You know, we're a vulnerable business. I mean, we've been impacted quite a bit from COVID. Our retail sales have definitely taken a hit in the last 2 years, year and a half. We're at a crossroads as a business. We actually serve both retail from our retail location in downtown Chinatown in Vancouver, but we also serve the wholesale market. We sell through Whole Foods and lots of other grocery stores and chains. We sell through some of the IGA stores here in BC. Greens, a local market, Palm out in Coquitlam. There's a number of places, Larry's out in North Van. But you know, the challenge is to scale the business, right? Scale is on many levels, be it having a larger kitchen to produce enough to supply, be it finding a distributor to distribute your products right across Canada, US. I'm currently looking for investment or partnership to take us to the next level. I think we spent the last 4 years or so, we've been now into our 5th year, proving our model, gaining traction, building our brand, perfecting, refining our product line. But you know, to take it to the next level, we need to decide what we want to do, what we want to be when we grow up. It's no longer just a passion project. It's a real business, and a real business needs to be profitable and needs to sustain its growth. So that's what we're trying to figure out at this point.
Well, that is some exciting journey growth ahead, that's for sure. There's never a right or a wrong answer to this next question. It might be something in the pipeline, maybe something we don't even know about yet, but are there any charitable organizations that Umaluma supports?
Well, there's lots of charities and innovative kind of groups we'd love to support. You know, as a vulnerable younger business, we don't make that much of a contribution in a monetary sense. We've been involved in many small little giveaways and prizes and that sort of thing, where we give away Umaluma gift certificates and so on. Last year during COVID, I actually donated 100 cases of gelato to BC Health. We actually connected with Dr. Bonnie Henry and her team, and we donated all that ice cream to frontline workers. So that was something I felt good about doing at the time. Yeah, there's certainly a lot more we could do, but as a small business, all we can do right now is be supportive in creative ways for initiatives that are resonating with us.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
all of our special guests are always plant-based vegan businesses. So it's always the ethos here is you guys are always supporting the best charity, the planet Earth. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So in terms of entrepreneurship, because your entrepreneur origin story that you described with Umaluma, your entrepreneur story started actually well in advance in terms of like how you were able to lead and consult and all these different things. So with that being said, with your skill set of entrepreneurship, do you have a book, podcast, or app or multiple that you would like to share?
Yeah. I'm not the biggest consumer of business books, to be honest with you. I'm an avid documentary film buff. My readings are mostly have taken me along the lines of healthy and conscious living and eating, like David Wolfe and his series of books in plant-based foods and superfoods is really inspiring to me in my personal life and diet. I get a lot out of his books. There's a couple of Ayurvedic books that have broken down the science to more layman's Western conceptual lifestyle that have been helpful for me. I also a big fan of films like Sharkwater Extinction, Anthropocene, Al Gore's climate change film. There's so many powerful documentaries that basically give a perspective of how the foods we eat impact the planet we live on. From an entrepreneurial point of view, that really informed my choices. Like, for example, we are primarily organic. We're about 90%, 85, 90% organic. I really believe in the organic food movement, both as a sustainable practice for the planet and also for our health. I mean, what you put in your body really matters. That's more informed the way I thought about running my business. We use compostable accessories and cups and so on, dishes, spoons and forks in our shop. I think that my experience in business really taught me a lot, and so I think I drew inspiration from my own experience, and I've had some great mentors along the way in my own career. So my entrepreneurial influences are a little bit diverse, and not so much just in the business world. But I don't know if you're asking me to provide any sort of entrepreneurial advice, but I do have a couple of things I'd like to share.
Yeah, we'll jump right into that at the very end, if you don't mind.
Okay.
No,
Sure.
That's amazing. And yeah, I mean, if your mentors could write books, I'm sure those are the books that you would have listed, because your experience in that is amazing. So the second to last question is, what are some brands? They could be local, they could be global. What are some brands that inspire Umaluma and yourself and the team at Umaluma?
Yeah, I mean, I mostly look at local. I really admire local businesses that are successful, right? Be they in the grocery business. One of the companies I mentioned earlier, Greens Organic Grocery. It's a place where I shop on West Broadway. I just like their consistent quality of products. There's a few other businesses like Eternal Abundance. I think you've had a couple of other guests on your show. Blue Heron, the cheese company, Yogu, the yogurt maker. I mean, I admire people that have taken the risk and have taken the dive into starting their own businesses with their passion and their vision for their products. So it's not an easy thing to launch a business and to sustain one. And I think a lot of the larger companies out there, I mean, in the past, I might have been following companies like Patagonia that's had a really good story in the green space. And the founders of that company have really practiced what they preached. They've bought up huge tracts of land and created these vast ecosystems of interconnected ecosystems that they've preserved forever, and they've donated that back. I mean, that's quite impactful in my opinion. There's a little company I was researching the other day. What are they called? Pella. They actually want to replace plastic in iPhone covers, so they use a plant-based cover to cover up your iPhone. I mean, I think it's a cool idea. I don't know if it's going to be a great business overall. Dr. Boner's soaps is a product that I've used over the years. That's a reliable company. It's been around forever. Very natural, very ethical company. There's a Seventh Generation is another company that makes packaging and recycled materials. I think they're doing a good job as well. You have to really look at behind the scenes when you're looking at companies, what they call sustainable or green. Like you mentioned earlier, there is a lot of greenwashing. There's a lot of hype. It helps the bottom line, but is it really helping the planet? So I think that's why the local, if you look locally where you shop and where you consume, you'll find some great companies, and hopefully they'll keep the trend will continue, and they won't all be swallowed up by big corporations.
Absolutely. And that's what the community really, really does need, is that support local, that deep thread of support. Although all the companies that you mentioned that were a little bit larger are incredible, looking into parent organizations and organizational structures in terms of what you classify as what you align with, very important as well. So that's a great piece of advice, which brings us to our last conversation starter, which is now is not the time to be modest. And I know that I've heard you say being kind to yourself and being grateful is some advice that you have for everybody. So if you want to touch more on that, or if there's other advice that you have, please do let us know.
Yeah, I think it's really important to realize it's, running a business is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You need to be prepared and as much as you can for the long run, for the long haul. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of work to have maintain a successful business. Having a good team, you can't do it all yourself. Our company actually doesn't have a big team. We're really small. I think I'm feeling that. I think I'm feeling the missing links in our business, be it on sales or marketing. We focused a lot on the product side of things, but I do see and experience needing people with complementary skills on the team. Cash flow is really important. I mean, you can't underestimate having enough money to keep yourself going, right? If you're constantly fighting to survive, it's going to be a struggle to realize your vision. So, having a real business plan. I mean, the plan, honestly, I created a 5-year pro forma business projection. I don't think I've looked at it once since I put it in in my folder, but it helps. It really helped me to try and understand what direction to take the business in, what the potential is in terms of revenue, in terms of costs of producing goods. You have to either have a good financial mind or have someone on your team that's an accountant or someone who's good with finance, because inevitably the money question comes up, right? And keeping it all working. I made the I wouldn't call it a mistake. I made the decision to invest probably more money than I should have into the store before we even launched. When you're opening a store, I mean, everything costs money. And making a kitchen is a huge expense. Equipment is a huge expense. Dealing with the city, dealing with permitting, dealing with the construction, and so on. All those things are time consuming and cost an enormous amount of money in today's world. So be very mindful about where you spend your money and how and when, I would say. So, and don't go into debt. If you can avoid debt, it comes back to haunt you.
Outstanding advice. Have a team who can fill the gaps that you might not be able to have yourself. Having the team is so important. Having a plan is so important. Accountability. And one thing that you didn't quite hit there at the end, but you said it several times throughout the conversation today, and that is be vulnerable. Learn when to accept and pivot and transition and add or remove. So Ian, thank you so much. Everybody, you can find out more about Umaluma Gelato on the web. That's www.umaluma.com. And it's just how it sounds, Umaluma, Umaluma. And of course, on Instagram at Umaluma Gelato. Thank you so much, Ian. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.